Hello, welcome. And today I have a wonderful presentation ready for you about the discovery and development of hormonal birth control. Now, we all know a little bit about birth control, but we might not know where it came from or exactly how it works in the women's body. Now, before I get started on that, there was a time when this was all being developed where there was a very much different view of contraceptives and women in general. And this time was 1950, in the 1950s. And what the view was of women was not very powerful or, you know, not very powerful at all. Women were seen as the housekeeper. They were seen as taking care of the husband, taking care of the kids. Basically, the atomic family was the the ideal at the time. And what this meant was that there was also a very harsh view on contraceptives, both politically and even religiously. Religious leaders saw contraceptives as something that was going to make women sin more. And political leaders thought that it would make women more promiscuous and more prone to doing bad things. And so they thought, well, contraceptives must be bad then. And so, unfortunately, these laws called the Comstock laws were developed, and what happened with these laws was that they restricted the information and distribution of contraceptives to women. So now, by the law, women had to suffer through up to three decades of childbirth, and that included babies, miscarriages, and that all causes damage to the body and could easily shorten the lifespan by a lot of time. And there was a woman who wanted to change all of that, and her name was Margaret Sanger. She was, well, a sexuality activist and wanted a way for women to have safe sex. She wanted women to be able to choose whether they wanted a baby or not. And her life, unfortunately, most of the time was spent fighting these Comstock laws, of which she was winning. But she still had this dream that she wanted a magical pill that would make it easy, cost effective, and would be able to be widely distributed to all of the women in the United States. But the problem was that there was no way to develop this due to these Comstock laws. And she didn't get the chance, unfortunately, until she was 72 years old, where she met a man named Gregory Pincus at a dinner she was at. And Gregory Pincus was a expert in human reproduction and had told her that he would be able to do it. He would take on the task of finding this magical pill for her. And Margaret Sanger, having already established the first Planned Parenthood in Boston, had a little bit of money to give to him. With this money, he went to the company SD. He went to a pharmaceutical company and tested what he already believed to be a contributor to anti-ovulation, the drug progesterone. And once he tested it on these rats, he found that it was effective in preventing ovulation. The next step, of course, for him was to do a human trial. But this was going to cost money. And so Margaret Sanger, with the help of a rich heiress named Catherine McCormick, funded $40,000 into this research and testing. And with this testing, which they did under a guise that it was a fertility observation, that the progesterone was effective in humans at stopping ovulation. Now, today we know more about that process. The way that it works, well, first of all, how ovulation works is that there's a gland in your brain called the pituitary gland that controls other endocrine glands in the body. Now, the two important hormones that come out of this pituitary gland in the female reproductive system is LH and LSH. Now, what these do is when they're released from the pituitary gland, they move their way throughout the circulation system into the ovaries. And this is a signal to the ovaries telling them to develop an egg and release it into the fallopian tubes. Now, once this egg reaches the uterus and there's no fertilization, menstruation happens and the cycle starts over again. And what we found with progesterone was that this drug actually stopped the production and distribution of these two hormones. So without these two hormones, there's no signal to the ovaries to say, start making this egg and start releasing this egg. And so with this drug, we finally were able to make that pill, the magical pill that is cheap, it's easy to take, and it can be widely distributed. The dream of Margaret Sanger was finally fulfilled in her lifetime. That was very impressive. And with this discovery, we have revolutionized the sexuality of women. We have revolutionized the freedom that they have. And most of all, with the production of this pill, we also had started the reform of the idea of women, something into something more powerful and more respected. And it's all due to this beautiful effort. Fuck 7